Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Sri Damodara Janani by His Holiness Sivarama Swami. We have been reading from chapter 1, setting the scene, and let us continue from where we left yesterday. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tatsat. We have been reading how Krishna was sleeping and Mother Yashoda, she was going through the chores of the day, making the butter for her beloved Krishna. And while she was churning, she was quietly looking from the corners of her eye if Krishna had woken up. And let us continue from there. Just then Yashoda cast a glance Krishna's way and she saw his drowsy eyes slowly close. She thought, he is still tired, let him sleep a little more. But Krishna was no longer tired. The love radiating from his mother had entered his eyes and shone into his heart, where it was creating such a festival of bliss that he was all ready to crawl out of bed to embrace her. Yet he restrained himself, allowing his own love to engulf his being. In a childish way, Krishna thought, what an exquisite sight! I must drink the nectar of this vision a little longer. Carefully looking through his ever so slightly parted eyelids, Krishna saw that she had turned away, and so he opened his eyes further. The first thing he noticed was the movement of Yashoda's earrings. Fine beams of golden light caught Krishna's eyes. Is that the sun's reflection? No, her face is turned away from the sun. Then with wonder he realized it is the reflection of the love radiating from her form. How exquisite! Stealthily watching the jewel-encrusted earrings swing back and forth while rubbing against his mother's cheeks, Krishna was hypnotized, and in that condition he felt transcendental envy. How fortunate to always be so close to her. I have to play, sleep and snatch butter from the neighbors, at which times I'm distant from mother, but these earrings are always just one finger away from her flower petal cheeks at that. In answer to Krishna's jealousy, the earrings flashed a message as if to say, lazy little boy, why not come out of bed and share with us your mother's sweet caress? Krishna's mind replied, O Kundala, that caress will come, but in her arms I cannot see mother's full glory. Let me watch from here. Tinkle, 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 the bracelets on Yashoda's wrists and forearms wanted attention. To amplify their request, they too shone shafts of love at Krishna. After all, where was love not exuding from Yashoda's pores? O Kangana, what austerities did you perform to grace the bud-like hands that can thrill me so with their touch? But a thief, we are mined from the best part of the Chintamani soil of this land, where touchstones seek to fulfill their own desires by your mother's slightest touch. Come share that touch with us. Surely every atom of your being craves for it. Again Krishna resisted. Although the bangles were right and his senses cried out to him, please be kind, but the vision before his eyes filled him with another, more intense ecstasy, the ecstasy of separation, and he whispered, O senses, relish the experience of this indescribable beauty, love and devotion. Following his order, every sense simultaneously adopted the quality of sight, smell and sound, and thus relished Yashoda's beauty, bodily aroma and utterances. By so doing, they compensated for the absence of a touch and for the taste of a kiss. Yashoda looked up. Krishna closed his eyes. Missing his deception, she thought, still asleep. Should I let him continue or should I rouse him? Sensing that the butter was still not done, she decided, let him rest a little longer. Pulling hard against the rope, Mother Yashoda made not only her earrings, bracelets and necklaces dance, but even her ankle bells. Hearing that concert, Krishna chanced a peek. Looking through the glitter of Yashoda's ornaments and bodily effulgence, Krishna was astounded by the charming contrast between her blackish complexion and saffron, yellow sari. Like sunshine set against a mass of rain clouds, as befitting a queen, her dress was fashioned of a fine fabric embellished with colourful embroidery and gold yarn borders. How might I also be draped about that form of love, her movements being as energetic as they were? The loose folds of Yashoda's sari danced as if blown by the wind. To enable churning, she had knotted it at her waist. Still her cloth continued to flutter against the churning rod, occasionally even entangling the rope. Krishna was enchanted. How has the Creator so successfully fashioned this form of perfection? Yashoda's broad hips shook as if challenging the belt, encircling them, and further inciting each and every one of her limbs to dance. The chowki also began to shake slightly. Krishna worried. What if she falls from her seat? But there was no chance of that. Despite her shaking limbs and wobbly bearing, Yashoda's mind was fixed in meditating upon her little son, the anchor of all existence. How could she fall? And in that state of deep absorption, Yashoda Devi forgot that Krishna was sleeping, and she was churning the butter, and they were inside the palace. Her voice rising higher and higher, her face beautified with a smile, she sang, Taranaka Baladhi Shvalita Tanva Adhi Valaita Manjula Shobha Jarati Nivahe Kautuka Kalahe Pravalita Mithya Lobha. Although a handsome protector of calves, you are a greedy liar when jostling in a playful quarrel with elder gopis. While repeating this refrain, Yashoda's mistakenly thought that she was in the courtyard making peace between Krishna and the neighborhood gopis. Occasionally, she raised her eyebrows at the gopis' allegations or chuckled at his clever retorts. Lost in another reality, the reality of remembrance, Yashoda Devi was so fully experienced Krishna's presence that she drew him into her meditation, and in so doing made him unsure of where he was. Was he in the bed or in her thoughts? Although he was present both externally, Sakshat, as well as within Yashoda's heart, Sfurti, the loving devotion of his mother was so strong that Krishna was increasingly drawn into the latter. As a result, the cause and the shelter of all directions and of all dimensions became momentarily disoriented. Confident that Yashoda was so immersed in meditation as to be oblivious to her surroundings, Krishna opened his eyes wide only to see Queen Yashoda's quivering breasts emitting a stream of love milk. What is this exclusive affection that increases with every line of mother's song? Is that love occasionally by constant attraction for me or for the effect of her song? He paused. Because her loving affection still overflows without her seeing me or without her singing, it must be caused by a combination of the two. Pausing for another moment, Krishna added, perhaps the shaking of mother's limbs is also not caused by churning but by love, or by the song, or by all three. From within his heart, love answered, little boy, why not ask a similar question about the perspiration on her brow or the restlessness of her eyebrows? Krishna's attention turned to Mother Yashoda's face, the face of embodied love. Her carefully tied braid had loosened and the malati flowers were falling to her feet. He marveled these flowers looked like raindrops cascading from a blue cloud or stars dropping from the night sky. Noticing the beads of perspiration, he added, no, the moisture is rainfall from the ethereal black cloud of her hair, and the flowers a celestial shower from adoring devas. Just to see her eyebrows, Prema whispered. Yashoda's eyebrows moved erratically as if freeing the drops of perspiration collected in them or in response to the cascading flowers. In truth, it was neither. Those movements were symptoms of ecstasies and ever-fresh delight at Krishna's sports, and as with all her characteristics, they further enhanced her beauty. Love said, just see, just see. Indeed, Krishna saw. He saw his mother's weariness, her determination to please him, her love issuing forth an unmatched beauty, her regal attire askew, and her relentless symptoms of ecstasy highlighted by the love milk dripping from her breast. Unable to tolerate the distance between them, driven by the desire to show his love for her and desirous to drink her breast milk, Krishna sat up and with tears flowing from his eyes, issued a stream of crying sounds calling, "Mother, Mother." Krishna's cries quickly pierced Yashoda's samadhi and brought her thoughts from the courtyard back into her kitchen. For an instant, she appeared to lament that she had been taken away from her beloved, but Krishna's further calls opened her eyes to reality. Gradually, the vision and memory of the palace and her churning returned, and she understood that her son had awakened and that he needed her. "Mother, Mother." While coming to her external senses, Yashoda still remained captivated by the pastimes of her songs. Wiping the perspiration from her brow, she blamed the sun. "O eye of the world, leave me alone." To free herself from thoughts of Krishna and respond to his call, she gracefully shook her head from side to side like a celestial mare. Krishna was beside himself. "Mother." There's lots of notes at the end of the chapter from the various commentaries Maharaj has taken the narratives from. And I'm thinking that should I read them or should I continue with the next chapter? I think the notes are worth reading, so I will continue with the notes of this chapter. Acharyas like Sanatan Goswami, Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Prabhupada are of one voice in dating this pastime to Deepavali in the month of Kartik, which is usually October to November. Jiva Goswami, however, says that the pastime took place in the month of Margshish, November to December, at the very beginning of the year, and at a time that the Gopa family celebrated the festival of King Indra. The festival of Indra, which was later superseded by Govardhan celebrations, takes place during the Deepavali period, and traditionally Deepavali also celebrates a new year. But why Jiva Goswami says this all took place in the month of Margshish is not clear, although he seems to indicate that in that year Deepavali was late. The 5 days of the Deepavali festival begins on the 13th Trayodashi lunar day of the Krishna Paksha or dark fortnight of the month of Kartik, and it celebrates the appearance of both Lakshmi and Dhanvantari from the churning of the milk ocean. These two personalities brought the wealth, dhan of opulence and medicinal science respectively, and so that day is known as Dhana Trayodashi, or in Hindi Dhanteras. The second day is the day on which Krishna defeated and killed Naraka and is called Narak Chaturdashi. The third day is the actual Deepavali day, also known as Diwali because it is celebrated by lighting rose avali of lamps, Deepa. When Lord Ramchandra was flying in a Vimana from Lanka to Ayodhya, his well-wishers lit lamps all along the way to guide him and show their respects. It is also said that the Pandavas returned from exile on this day. The fourth day is called the Padava, derived from Padavo, which stands for the first day of the bright phase of the moon, called Pratipat. This day celebrates the marital bond between a husband and wife, but more importantly, it is the Govardhan Puja day. Finally, the fifth day of Deepavali is Bhaubij, and like Raksha Bandhan, it commemorates the bond between sister and brother and was initially displayed between Yamaraj and Yamuna. We read the mantra Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. So these are the first words of the Brahma Gayatri mantra. 84 Stambh means 84 pillars. The grand court of Nanda Maharaj had 84 pillars, which can still be found in the present 84 Stambh building near the actual site of the king's residence in Gokul. Archaeological evidence and historical records both show that the present Nand Bhavan is neither in its original place nor in its original form. According to Alexander Cunningham and F.S. Grouse, the Muslim ruler Aurangzeb had the original palace dismantled and relocated some 100 meters to the southeast, where the pillars were rearranged to resemble a conventional mosque. Since then, the building has been reclaimed as the home of Nanda Maharaj, which is the Braj center of Krishna pilgrimage. In his commentary to 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 9, verse 1, Baldev Vidyabhushan gives a reason for the absence of Yashoda's helpers that differs from the explanation of the other acharyas. He says that Mother Yashoda engaged her maid servants in preparing the paraphernalia for churning milk and so on, meaning in cleaning and preparing the utensils. Still, the essence of Acharya's statement is that all but one of Yashoda's assistants was absent. In that way, all Acharyas concur. Saint Gargamuni's actual words were in conclusion, therefore, O Nanda Maharaj, this child of yours is as good as Narayan in his transcendental qualities, opulence, name, fame and influence. He is exactly like Narayan. You should all raise this child very carefully and cautiously. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 8, verse 19. Sanatan Goswami explains that the Vrajavasis annually performed an Indra Yagya at this time. This was the same sacrifice that Krishna would replace with the worship of Govardhan Hill some years later. Having prepared the ingredients for the sacrifice the night before, the men of Gokula went to the Brahmana's village at the Patrola, where they participated in the prescribed rituals, and from there went to the Govardhan Hill, where they raised the victory flag of Indra or Indradhwaj Tila. Worship of Indra not only assured the Vrajavasis of rain for their crops and pastures, but also that they would retain good sensual power, as it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 3rd chapter, verse 2, Indram Indriya Kamastu. Those who want strong senses should worship Indra. Yogurt's natural texture is not smooth and creamy unless it is emulsified, usually simply whisked or blended, a process that disperses the whey, creamy lumps and the lighter body of the yogurt and blends them all into a consistent, creamy texture. If left to sit in its natural state, yogurt evolves over the course of a day. Part of that process is similar to cream rising, the process of making Kshirakhanda Ram would often steal from. The clay absorbs the liquid moisture of the yogurt, the whey, and thus the yogurt thickens and sets. Mother Yashoda would scrape the top from this previous day's yogurt and use it to churn butter. This is what Baldev Vidyabhushan refers to as the essential part of that, the best part of yogurt, in his Vaishnav Nandini commentary. Sunanda is a younger brother and counselor of Nanda Maharaj. Some years later, it would be this same Indra Yagya that Krishna and Balaram would divert to become the Govardhan Puja. A chowki is a low, generally square, multi-purpose, four-legged platform that is most often used as a table or a seat. It serves as a table when one is seated on the floor to either eat or use to worship the deities. It also serves as a seat when one bathes from a bucket or cooks on ground level fires. Chowkis can be very simple, or as in the case of Mother Yashoda, chowki, they can be ornamental piece of furniture. So let us continue from chapter 2 now, which is Mother Yashoda attends to her duties. There were still lots of notes from at the end of chapter 1, but I just left them there. Let us continue with that chapter 2. Tam ankam arudham apayat stanam sneha snutam sasmitam ikshati mukham atraptam utsrajya javena sa yayav utsiyamane payasitva adhishrite. Mother Yashoda then embraced Krishna, allowed him to sit down on her lap, and began to look upon the face of the Lord with great love and affection. Because of her intense affection, milk was flowing from her breast, but when she saw that the milk pan was on the oven was boiling over, She immediately left her son to take care of the overflowing milk, although the child was not yet fully satisfied with drinking the milk of his mother's breast. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, 9th chapter, verse 5. There was a moment of silence. In that moment, Krishna gauged his mother's reactions and watched as if she withdrew from immersion in thoughts of him, and her consciousness entered once more into the external world. Seated in bed, tears flowing down his cheeks, Krishna sobbed silently. Spontaneously, he looked around, searching for his close friends, but they were absent. Everyone was preparing for Deepavali. Looking again to his mother, his heart swelled with love to see her ride the relentless surf of oceanic love for him. I must get up, stop her churning, and drink the milk of her breasts. I must. Thinking in this way, Krishna's hunger for milk rose to his tongue, impelling him to fulfill its needs. Suddenly, his wandering eye caught the crystal container of sweets on the nightstand. The tempting Manohara Laddu seemed to say, "Oh little boy, if you're hungry, eat me." And the Khand next to the Laddu said, "No, eat me first." But Krishna's hunger for his mother's milk was not just part of his childhood pastimes. His hunger arose from the special affection he cherished for his mother, affection that was the very bedrock of his childhood pastimes. And in the way that hunger becomes intolerable for one who has not eaten, Krishna's yearning for his mother's love milk became unbearable due to the unrequited love within him. In ecstasy, he again cried, "Mother, mother." Since Yashoda could not yet give solace to her child, love Prema took it upon itself to do so, saying, "Fear not, O Lord, surely your mother will fulfill your desire shortly and bring you great bliss." Considering what he had heard, Krishna replied, "O essence of pure pleasure, O you who know everything, please hear this. Due to her great love for me, mother is submerged in divine emotions. However, by my pastimes today, I shall bring her far greater pleasure than she has ever known, and I am eager to do so. That is why I am crying. I want her to achieve the pinnacle of motherly love. With what pastime will you two scale that mountain of mutual devotion with something very special? May I know what that special pastime is?" Krishna looked around. He was still alone with Yashoda. "It was my heartfelt desire that we be alone so that I can taste the bliss of being bound by my mother's hands and so that she can relish the nectars of doing so." Bound? Yes, I want to feel tied by the ropes of mother's love. Helpless and captive, only then I will know that devotees feel when they are bound to me by love. The ropes I use for tying cows' legs, the Niryoga Pasha are my ropes of love, O Prema. You know this well. With those ropes do I tie the hearts of Brajavasis to the stake of spontaneous service, and with those ropes do I also capture conditioned souls and drag them to this divine abode. But Krishna paused for a moment, preparing to announce a momentous truth. "But I do not know what it is like to be bound by the rope of my devotee's love." Prema wondered, "How is that? Your heart is not only tied by the devotees, but is their property. You yourself said, Sadhu Hridayam Mahyam." Krishna stopped crying momentarily and sniffled. "That is true, but I want to feel their love not just with my heart, but with my entire being." Looking back at the Queen Yashoda, Krishna added, "And I especially want to feel her love. I want to feel it all around my transcendental form, like the air that now surrounds me." Prema asked, "But why do you have to be alone to achieve that end?" "Because I'm afraid that someone may interfere with my plans who will let me be bound." "Do you think Balram, Sridama, or even the maids would let mother do that?" "That is why I encouraged my brother to visit our uncle and my friends to busy themselves with Deepavali." "O Lord, I am certainly very eager to see this day's adventures unfold." Krishna concluded, "O Prema, I shall depend upon you to manifest extraordinary power so that mother and I can taste your very essence, unprecedented ecstatic emotion. Please satisfy me in all respects." "Lord, it shall be as you desire." Yashoda continued to churn mechanically like one in a magical trance, but the continued swish of the churn did not sit well with Krishna. Climbing down from the bed, still sleepy-eyed and wearing only kopina, he tottered in the direction of his mother. Once long ago, the demons and demigods churned the ocean of milk, and from that churning, many wonderful beings appeared like Mohini Murti, Dhanvantari, and even Lakshmi Devi. But when Yashoda Devi churned yogurt, the most wonderful being, the Supreme Personality, appeared, and Krishna's rising was joyfully met by the waiting world. The earth turned butter soft beneath his feet. The morning breeze caressed his limbs, and the chirping birds praised his beauty. All of which, along with the festive sounds of Gokula, gladdened his heart as he toddled towards his mother. Krishna's ankle bells tinkled, and out of need for attention, he again began to softly weep. Finally, Yashoda came to full external consciousness. From the corner of her eye, Yashoda watched Krishna's approach. Eager to relish his mood and movement, she did not greet him, but waited until he stood beside her, stretching his body, rubbing his eyes, and murmuring, "Mother, mother." No response. Upset at being spurned, Krishna grabbed at the folds of Yashoda's sari with his right hand, and leaning forward, he caught hold of the churning rod with his left hand. "Oh, my beloved son, you are awake. How wonderful!" Queen Yashoda greeted her son with words of kindness while still pulling on the churning rope. Swish, swish. But Krishna did not want any more swish, swish. Now, placing his other hand on the churning rope, he gave up his tears. "No, stop, stop." And when Yashoda pulled on the rope again, he added, "Mother, do not churn." Yashoda stopped and gazed lovingly into her son's eyes, tear-streaked but determined face, still holding into the churn. He leant against her breast, making known his intentions. Yashoda's heart welled up in affection, and milk trickled from her breast, moistening her upper garment. How charming he is, she thought. To impress upon her the urgency of his want, Krishna tugged again at the churning rope. His effort was not lost on her. Putting the rope down, Yashoda placed her hands under his arms and raised Krishna to her lap. Gazing for a moment at the indescribable beauty of her son, she drank that beauty through her eyes and was about to nurse him when she stopped and pondered. Why does my son look so different, so beautiful, and in ways I have never seen him before? Has he changed in some mysterious way, or is it I who have never really looked at him so deeply? Why, unbeknown to Queen Yashoda, love had followed Krishna's orders to create an unprecedented pastime by giving her a unique vision with which to explore Krishna's fathomless beauty. So intense and revelatory was Yashoda's experience that as she gazed at him, she wondered, is this really Krishna? Yes, it was him. So we will continue our reading from here onwards next time. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.